Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of the Midweek Minis. Well, here it is. It's June, and June is in full swing, and with it come the weddings. As a matter of fact, 10.8% of all weddings take place in the month of June. But have you ever stopped and thought about why the month of June is so popular for weddings?
Triple M Studios proudly presents Midweek Minis, and here's your host, Andrea Lee.
Well, I'll be glad to tell you why. Of course. Like many other holidays and customs, June weddings started as a pagan tradition. The month of June is named after the Roman goddess Juno. And Juno is known as the protector of women in all ways, but especially marriage and childbearing. So the month of June was seen as a favorable time for weddings because it was thought that Juno would bless the couple with prosperity and happiness. And there's several other reasons, though, that there's so many weddings in June. The Celts had a big hand in this also. Often, young couples would be paired up on Beltane, which is on May the 1st. And after they were paired, they would date for a couple of months, get to know each other, and then be married on August the 1st. Well, a lot of those young couples got impatient. They were in a hurry to get married. So then they started having weddings in June. And that caused it to be a popular month to get married. Now, another popular reason was that back in the ancient and medieval times, it was thought that spring was the best time to get married because if the bride became pregnant soon after the wedding, childbirth wouldn't interfere with the harvest. They wanted the women to not be recovering from giving birth so that they could take care of preserving the harvest as they came in. So it stood to reason that if they got pregnant in early summer, they wouldn't be giving birth during that harvest. And by the time they gave birth 9 months later, they would be all recuperated by the time the next harvest rolled around. So how convenient, And then there's this. Now, some resources say it was a hoax. I'm not sure. But anyway, because people back in those days were said to take annual baths, okay? I said annual. Can you imagine only taking a bath once a year? But anyway, those annual baths usually took place in May or early June, so the bride would still be smelling nice by the time her June wedding came. But if just in case she wasn't, she would carry a bouquet of flowers down the aisle, which would help disguise the BO. Now, like I said, some sites say that's a hoax, others say that's the gospel. But I'm just telling you what I saw. Now, that's really all I've got on that. But there's another thing I want to talk about that's happening right now. It's not related to June weddings, but I felt this midweek mini was a little too many. Now, if you're on social media much lately, you've probably seen people posting about Mercury Retrograde. Retrograde, gosh, I can't talk. A lot of people seem to panic at the mere mention of that, and I admit some things do get a little wacky during retrograde. Well, if you're not sure what all the fuss is about, let me give you the short version. When a planet is in retrograde, it gives the illusion that it's spinning backwards. Now, the most recent retrograde, the one we're in, it started on May the 29th and it ends on June the 22nd. So, how does it affect humans? Well, I'm glad you asked. It seems to affect a little bit of every aspect of our lives. Electronics die, traffic goes crazy, and drama seems to just be abundant in friendships and romantic relationships. Now, Mercury really isn't spinning backwards, but it gives that optical illusion. And in astrology, Mercury rules communications, travel, and technology. So during that 3-week period of retrograde, any of that can go haywire. Now, before you say you've been feeling it since before the 29th of May, or, if you think you feel it past the 22nd of this month, you should also know that it has like this, what they call a shadow period. Like, you can feel the effects from it a couple of weeks before it starts, and you can still be feeling it a couple of weeks once it's over. Now, one thing that Mercury Retrograde is very notorious for is bringing your exes out of the woodwork. They might start sending you friendship request or friend requests on your social media. You might get random texts in the middle of the night. But anyway, don't latch on and think, they were the one that got away and this is our chance. Exes are exes for a reason. And just remind yourself that they need to remain an ex. Now, in other aspects of your life, make sure you review like any contracts before you sign them. And basically, just don't make any rushed decisions. Think about what, you're about to do, sign, whatever. And because you really don't want stuff to come back and bite you later. And that's often the case with decisions that are made during Mercury retrograde. But don't panic, because you've gotten through many retrogrades in the past, and you probably didn't even know it was happening at the time. It's always a good time. It's always a good idea at any time to keep yourself grounded. And by that, I mean mentally focused. And I'm just going to say that meditation is a good friend. And that's probably going to be the topic for another episode one of these days. But that's all I've got for this week's Midweek Mini. Y'all have a good rest of your week. Don't forget that on Saturday is the Weekend Weird Files. So come back Saturday and give us a listen again.